I'm going to mute us.
Well, good evening. This lecture, as well as the next lecture, is about German art. And one surprising thing is that most people don't really know about German art, and it's not thought that it would produce great art. But this lecture will show you incredible German art. What I'm showing you is way, way earlier. This is 1800 BC. It's called the Nebra Sky Disc. It's a bronze with blue-green patina, and it's inlaid with gold, and it was found in near Nebra in Germany. So this is 4,000 years old. It's the oldest depiction of astronomical phenomena ever found. Is that not pretty?
It's amazing.
So this lecture, I'm going to start, is going to be from the Middle Ages to the 18th century in Germany. And the next lecture will be German art and Romantic painting of the 19th century. What you're looking at is a map from the 1st century by Ptolemy. Ptolemy was a Greek astronomer and a mathematician and a cartographer. This is his map from the 1st century, the first time you can see Germany. And so the concept of Germany as a distinct region in Central Europe is traced to Julius Caesar and the Roman Empire. They referred to the unconquered area east of the Rhine as Germania, and Gaul was France. So that's an amazing map from the 1st century. This is an illumination of Charlemagne, Charles the Great, or Carlos Magnus. He founded the Carolingian Empire in 1800. So following the fall of the Roman Empire around 400, the Franks, which were a German tribe, they conquered other West Germanic tribes, and they called the new country Francia, which is also called the Kingdom of the Franks. So that started around the 5th century. Charlemagne, Charles the Great, or Carlo Magnus founded the Carolingian dynasty in Germany in around 1800, and he was crowned emperor then.
800.
800.
Yeah.
This is a stained glass from the Strasbourg Cathedral, which is in France, and it is a stained glass of Charles the Great. In France, we call it Charlemagne. You guys call it Carlo Magnus. He was a very famous emperor, and he united all the Franks. So at his death, this was roughly the red, green, and yellow. This was roughly the kingdom of the Franks. And what is red after his death, he was divided between his 3 sons. So the red will become France, and the green and yellow will roughly become Germany. So his kingdom was divided at the death of his sons. This is a map of the Holy Roman Empire. East Francia, which is the eastern part of the Frank Empire, became the Holy Roman Empire in 1962, as it was considered a protector of the Kingdom of Italy and the Pope. So they totally made up this territory called the Holy Roman Empire. And Voltaire, the French writer, wrote that the Holy Roman Empire was not holy, it was not Roman, and it was not much of an empire. So this map is like year 1000. This one is absolutely incredible. This is the German states in 1444. So you can see it's a mosaic of incredibly teeny states. It's very, very confusing to cover Germany. You see all these teeny the little kingdoms, little duchies, little bishoprics, principality, is all kind of diverse. But the Holy Roman Empire lasted from the 12th century until the 18th century. This is a pretty amazing map. And you see Bohemia to the right. Bohemia is roughly where Czechoslovakia is. This is an illustration from the Nuremberg Chronicle of 1440, and it depicts the structure of the Reich. The Reich was the ruling electing party of the Holy Roman Empire. So to his right, you can see three ecclesiastic, and to his left, there's four secular electors. So this was the government of the Holy Roman Empire. This is an illumination. It's called the Annunciation of the Shepherds from the Pericopes of Henry II. That painting, illumination, is on parchment, and it was made in 1107. So in the Middle Ages, most art was found in illuminated manuscript, and these were used for prayers. So this particular book is a very luxurious medieval manuscript, and it was made for Henry II, the Holy Roman Empire. So it was made for just one man in the year 1002. This is another illumination from the Bamberg Apocalypse, and this is from the 11th century. The Bamberg Apocalypse is an 11th century, very richly illuminated manuscript. And here, this is a woodcut, and it describes the purgatory. So if you do bad things, this is where you go. Life in the Middle Ages was ruled by the church. Even though there were divisions, the church provided the moral code and the structure of all these countries. The most famous book or illuminated book is this one. This is the Nuremberg Chronicle, and it's an illustrated encyclopedia of the world and historical account. It was finished in 1493. So subject include human history in relation to the Bible, mythological creature, and important, Christian cities from antiquity. So the city you're looking here is the city of Strasbourg in eastern France. It was then called Argentina, and Argentina in Latin means silver. So in that town was found silver. This is from the same book, the Nuremberg Chronicle. This is a view of the city of Nuremberg. So you can see in this book that they made great use of the Gutenberg press that had been discovered a few years earlier. So now books were published. This is a view of the city of Budapest, which is now in Hungary. And this one is from the city of Cologne, or Cologne, as we say in France. From the same book is this one. This is called Manna Falling from Heaven. And from the same book, this is the Dance of Death. So death was a very popular subject. A third of Europe died from the Black Plague. Let me admit someone.
Recording in progress.
The other magnificent illuminated manuscript is this one. Whoop, sorry. This one. This one is incredible. This is called the Augsburg Book of Miracle. It's an illuminated manuscript that was made in the city of Augsburg in Germany in 1456. So the manuscript has no introduction, title page, or list of content. It launches straight into a sequence of illustration, and it lists in a rough chronological order various phenomena that were perceived as miracle. So this one is a rain of blood and flesh, and this happened in 1456. In the year 1552, there was a hailstorm on the city of Dordrecht in Germany, which is now in Holland, and many pieces of hail weighed a few pounds, and people thought that the judgment day was coming. This is the illustration. This is still the same book, the Osberg Book of Miracle. This is Jonas and the whale. So the story of Jonas and the whale, Jonas was a prophet in the Hebrew Bible, and he was saved from drowning when he was swallowed by a great fish. And he lived for 3 days inside the fish, after which the fish vomited him, and he was able to resume his preaching. That sounds like a true story, doesn't it?
Sure.
Having trouble with images. Hold on. Or is this one? Whoop. Sorry. Whoop. This one is a comet in the sky. Oh, sorry, that's not that one. This is the comet in the sky that had been seen in 1506. These drawings are absolutely lovely, each one of them. And still from the Osberg Book of Miracle, these are dragons. Dragons were seen in 1533 after the birth of Christ on Friday after Saint Ursula, the 24th day. Such wondrous dragons were seen in the air for nigh on 2 hours around 10 o'clock at night in several places near Hilpoltstein and at the Hoflin house there. That is what the writing is at the bottom. So somebody saw dragons flying in the sky, and people believe this. This is snow that fell in the city of Milan in Italy. And at the bottom is written, in the year 1162, snow fell 12 times in succession upon Milan, so that the people fell into despair and no one was able to go and see anyone else. And the last illumination from the Osberg Book of Miracle is this one, and this one shows the deluge from the Bible. They're remarkable illustrations. Did I just miss? Yeah, no? Okay. Sorry. Oh, I had trouble with the image. This is an aquamarine. It's an object I use for church, and this is an amazing mounted knight. It was made in 1250. I found this subject absolutely magnificent, and I think every little boy would like that one. And this is the reliquary bust of Charles the Great, Carlomagnus, the emperor I talked to you about. This is pure gold. It was made in 1349. These are stained glasses that are at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Each one measures 13 feet high, and they're just magnificent. They depict the Virgin Mary and standing saints. Very delicate, absolutely stunning. This is the armor of the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, which is mostly Germany and Austria, Ferdinand I. And this armor was made by a very famous armorer of the period. His name was Kunz Lochner. And I found 3 German helmets of the 16th century you may enjoy. I have this one. Would be a little hard to see with this thing on. This one. All of these have been to battle. They're not just prop. And this one. Pretty terrifying, isn't it? This is a German shield from the late 15th century. Often they were used by infantrymen or by archers, and they were often beautifully painted. So this is one of them. This is another one, again from the around 1570. And this one is from 1580 from Bavaria. I found this manuscript. It's an album of tournaments and parades in Nuremberg in the late 16th century. And this book has 112 pages depicting contestants in a tournament or various tournaments. This is another image that you find into this book. To show you some painting, I'll start with the master of Heiligenkreuz. When they say the master of some place, because they don't know the name, but he was the master of this little town called Heiligenkreuz. He was an Austrian painter born in 1520, and this is the Death of Saint Clair. It's a tempera on a wood panel. Most of the art, beside portrait, was done for the church or as an altarpiece. And you can see they used a lot of gold foil in this tempera painting. This one is anonymous, that is, we don't know who painted it, but it is absolutely beautiful. It's a painting called Domination of the Virgin. It measures 9 feet tall. It's a very large painting from the city of Nuremberg, and it's called the Domination of the Virgin. This one is by a German artist of kind of the Gothic style. The artist is Stefan Lochner, and it's called Madonna by Rose Bushes. It's a painting. It's tempera on panel. You can see gold foil being used. It's attached to a wood panel, and it measures 20 inches by 26 inches. It's very, very pretty. This is Stefan Lochner. And this is an artist called Brent Notker. It's called the Danse Macabre, the macabre dance. And he was an artist working in the Baltic region. And the Danse Macabre is one of his most famous paintings. This is a fragment of the late 15th century painting. Originally, the painting measured 100 feet long. So this is a fragment that is displayed in the Nicholas Church in Tallinn. So it is regarded as the best known and the most valuable medieval art from Estonia, which was then part of the German state. We'll start with great German artist. This is Martin Schongauer. He was an Alsatian painter, which is now part of France. He was an engraver, and he was born in the city of Colmar. So this is a portrait of him, Martin Schongauer, by another artist called Hans Bergler the Elder. And Hans Bergler the Elder, his work was collected by Albrecht Dürer. So a famous painter painting another famous painter. So this is Martin Schongauer. This is called A Foolish Virgin. She looks a little easy, doesn't she? She's open to trouble. This is 15th century drawing. It's actually an engraving, and it is at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And this is his portrait of a young woman. Again, the artist is Martin Schongauer. This is painted in 1475. It's an oil on panel that measures 20 by 13 inches. And I wanted to include this little watercolor and gouache. It's a study of peonies that I found absolutely very pretty botanical illustration. The next artist is Bernhard Strigel. He was born between 1460 and 1461 into a family of artists in the town of Memmingen in southern Germany. This is a painting of a gentleman called Hans Roth. It's painted in 1527. It's at the National Gallery of Art in London. And Hans Roth was married. This is a painting of his wife. His wife was Margaret Vorhin. This is painted in 1527. It's lovely and extremely colorful. Very unique for the period. This is his portrait of the Count Johann II. He was Count of Montfort and Rothenfeld. This is painted in 1523. It's at the National Gallery of Art of an Ireland. So the Counts of Montfort belong to the high nobility of the Holy Roman Empire. This is still Bernhard Strigel. This is a portrait of Bianca Maria Sforza. She was Queen of Germany. She was Queen of Italy and Empress of the Holy Roman Empire. She must have a very long business card. This is painted in 1505. It's at the Vienna Museum of Art. So you can see it's painted very naively, yet the clothes are absolutely exquisite. And the work of Bernhard Strigel is quite fun to look at. This is his painting of the Holy Roman Empire, Maximilian I, of the emperor and his family. This is painted in 1515. And this is his painting of the same emperor, Maximilian I, Holy Roman Empire. This is at the Museum of Art in Vienna. It's quite unusual colors and armor. I found this German painter. His name is Ludger Tom Ring the Younger. And I found his work really exquisite. This is a self-portrait. He was born in 1522 in the city of Münster, and his father and his brothers were also painters. I found this little painting, animal painting, painted in 1560. It's lovely. But sadly, he did not stick to animal. He did some religious painting. This is Christ blessing surrounded by donors. So you could ask an artist to commission an artist with a Christ, and he would also show the donors to the church. So this is his painting. This is made in 1573. You can see it's a triptych, so it can be folded into one panel. The next artist, I'm sure most of you have heard of him. His name is Albrecht Dürer. Albrecht Dürer was a very famous artist of the German Renaissance. He was born on the 21st of May in 1471 in the city of Nuremberg. And he created a lot of paintings, a lot of drawings and engravings. His work is very, very famous. This is a watercolor, and this is a view of the city of Innsbruck in Austria. Innsbruck at the time was the capital of the Holy Roman Empire. This is a self-portrait by Albrecht Dürer. It's painted in 1493. It's actually an oil on parchment, and the parchment is pasted on a canvas. This is at the Louvre Museum in Paris. So Albrecht Dürer was a very famous artist. He was also in contact with other major artists, including artists that you saw in the previous lecture, He corresponded with Raphael, with Giovanni Bellini, and with Leonardo da Vinci. This is his portrait of Michael Vonnegut. Michael Vonnegut was another German painter and printmaker. He had a workshop in Nuremberg, and he was the teacher of Albrecht Dürer. It's a fabulous portrait. This is again a self-portrait of Dürer. He's a little bit older. And this is his portrait of the Holy Roman Empire, Maximilian I. This is at the Museum of Art of Vienna. So the Holy Roman Empire was king of the Romans. He was Holy Roman Empire, and he was nicknamed Heart of Steel. This is his painting of his mother. His mother was named Barbara. It's 19 by 14. It's painted in 1490. So that's his mom. And that's his dad. That's his father. It's at the famous Uffizi Gallery in Florence. See, that's the couple. It's remarkable that he would have painted them. This is a portrait of a clergyman. It's at the National Gallery of Art in London. He did a small painting, 16 by 13. It's a remarkable portrait of a young clergyman. This is a portrait of Jakob Muffel. It's an oil on panel that is at the Gallery of Art in Berlin. Jakob Muffel was the burgomaster of the city of Nuremberg, where Albert Dürer grew up. Albrecht Dürer did this little watercolor of a young hare. It's only 10 inches by 9 inches. And you can see the date, 1502, and you can see his initials, AD, Albrecht Dürer at the bottom. I also chose this piece. It's a watercolor. It's a piece of turf, and it's quite exquisite and really finely detailed. It's lovely. He did some religious painting, but thankfully not too many. This is an amazing engraving called St. Anthony Reading an Engraving. It's an engraving measures about 10 by 9. You know, it appears to be like a very pretty pen and ink drawing, but it's actually an engraving on a copper plate. This is his very famous engraving by Albrecht Dürer. This is the rhinoceros. It's at the National Gallery of Art in London. And most people know Dürer because of this engraving. This is Adam and Eve. It's 2 separate panels, each one measuring 7 feet tall. It's at the Museum del Prado, and it was painted in 1507. I'll show you 2 anonymous paintings. This is a portrait of a young artist. It's at the Art Institute of Chicago. It's painted in 1500. But I found it interesting that you can see the instrument that the artist is using. You know, he's using a quill and ink. And the next anonymous painting is this one. This is a portrait of a man in armor. So we don't know who painted it, but it is an oil and tempera on a wood panel. A very great painter, German painter, is this one. This is Lucas Cranach the Elder. This is a painting that was done by his son, Lucas Cranach the Younger. I'm going to show you both their work. I'll start with Lucas Cranach the Elder. He was a German Renaissance painter born in 1472, and he was one of the most successful artists of his time. He was a court painter to the electors of Saxony. Saxony is a state in Germany, and he's known for his portrait of German princes and especially of leaders of the Protestant Reformation. He became a Protestant. This is a portrait. This is a portrait of Martin Luther, who started the Protestant religion in northern Germany and Sweden. He was a friend of his. And this is Lucas Cranach the Elder. So it's amazing that we would have a painting of Martin Luther. So he was his close friend, and he was a leader of the Protestant Reformation. But the Protestant Reformation went against the Holy Roman Empire, which was mostly Catholic and related to Spain. So Luther was banned and exiled to this fortress called the Coburg Fortress in Bavaria. This is a 19th century photograph. So that's where Luther went. But since I was showing Luther, I found another painting. This is anonymous. This is a portrait of John Calvin, Calvinism. So if you thought the Protestants were pretty strict, and much more orthodox and fanatical was Calvin. He was French, he was a theologian and pastor, and he was a reformer of the Catholic Church, but then he became a reformer of the Protestant religion. So this is still Lucas Cranach the Elder. This is his painting of Adam and Eve. It's an oil painting on a maple panel, and it measures 4 feet tall. It's so pretty. This is the fall of man. Again, the Adam and Eve theme. They're 2 separate panels that are in the Vienna Art Museum. Here, Lucas Cranach the Elder he did this double portrait of Henry IV of Saxony. Saxony was one of the main German states, and his wife Catherine of Mecklenburg. Mecklenburg was another state in northern Germany. So this is a couple, and it's just an amazing painting. It's so unique in the history of art. It's beautiful. So this is Henry IV of Saxony and his wife Catherine of Mecklenburg. And he did another painting of Catherine of Mecklenburg. This is painted in 1515. It's an oil on panel. She was the Duchess of Saxony by marriage to Henry IV of Saxony, and she was a sympathizer to the Protestant cause and to Martin Luther. Lucas Cranach the Elder also painted a series of hunting scenes that are quite remarkable. This is a hunting scene near Hartenfeld Castle, and it measures 6 feet by 4 feet. It's at the Cleveland Museum of Art. And I don't like the killing of the animals, but I do love the way the water is made, the people on the boat. He did another one. He did this one, which is another stag hunt with the Elector Friedrich the Wise of Saxony. So this was a very popular genre, and many of these styles were made. This is his painting of the Fountain of Youth. So again, this is Lucas Cranach the Elder. And a lot of this painting, if you can zoom in, there's just endless details to look at. This is the house where he lived in the city of Weimar, Germany. He died at the age of 81. And this house still stands in the marketplace. If you thought Lucas Cranach the elder was great, his son Lucas Cranach the younger is incredible. This is his son. This is a painting of, this is a portrait of the Elector of Saxony, John Frederick the Magnanimous. It's painted in 1578. It's an oil on canvas. It's a pretty amazing painting. And you've noticed the scar on the warrior's face. And he did a painting reminiscent of his father's work. He did this stag hunt of John Frederick I. This is also at the Vienna Art Museum. The details are just sumptuous. The water is exquisite. This is an anonymous painting. It's a portrait of a nobleman. It was made in the 16th century. I found it quite striking. And I'm sure that the few objects in the foreground have significance. It's just with time we lose the context. But you can see a fly, a piece of lemon, a ring, a flower. All these must have meaning to someone. A very unique painter of the Middle Ages is Albrecht Altdorfer. Altdorfer. He is very unique because he was a German Renaissance painter, and he was the first artist to take interest in landscape painting. This is a Danube landscape. It's a painting on a parchment, and the parchment was mounted on a piece of wood. And I also found this painting of his, which is called Landscape with Spruce. It's brown India ink with watercolor and gouache. And it has a little bit of a Japanese print feel. Anyway, it's a very unusual painting for, this is 1528, so very unusual for the time. An incredible artist is Hans Baldung. They're all incredible, but Hans Baldung was born in September 1480. He was considered the most gifted student of Albrecht Dürer. And he produced many paintings, portraits, altarpieces, and tapestry. This is a self-portrait. It's oil on lime wood, and it measures 5 feet tall. This is a portrait of a lady, painted in 1530. It's an oil on panel. I do not know who the lady was, but the painting and the look he gives her is just exquisite. And he painted this called The Three Graces. It's an oil on panel that is at the Museum del Prado. So we'll go to another incredible painter, but even greater. This is Hans Holbein the Elder. So I'm going to show you work by Hans Holbein the Elder and his son, Hans Holbein the Younger. So this is Hans Holbein the Elder. This is Pontius Pilate. I guess you say Pilate. He's washing his hands. So Hans Holbein the Elder was born in 1460 in the town of Augsburg, Germany, and he came from a family of painters. And most of his work was religious painting. This is Hans Holbein the Elder. This is the Death of the Virgin Mary. It's an oil on oak wood. It measures 8.5 feet wide, so huge, huge painting. It's at the Museum of Fine Art in Budapest. And you may notice that you can see, I don't know if it's a man or a woman in the foreground with eyeglasses. This is a sketch of a woman sitting. I found the sketch lovely, but it also tells you how practiced these artists were. You know, they knew how to paint clothes, they knew how to paint human figure, and especially they knew how to paint fold. So this is the sketches of fold that I found very, very interesting. So we'll go on to his son, Hans Holbein the Younger. This is a self-portrait of Holbein the Younger, and he has a very unique style, and his portrait are absolutely remarkable. This is painted in 1542. It's actually not a painting, it's a painting, it's a drawing with chalk, pen, and gold. So Hans Holbein the Younger was a German painter and printmaker, and he's considered one of the greatest portrait artists of the 16th century. This is the artist family. You can see the painting has been damaged. But that's his wife and his children. His wife was called Elsbeth, and originally the figures were painted on paper, and then they were cut out and stuck to a dark panel. So, Hans Holbein the Younger was born in the city of Augsburg, same city where you saw the manuscript, the Augsburg Miracle. He was born in 1497. He was the son, as I said, of Hans Holbein, and his father ran a very large and busy workshop in Augsburg. This is his painting of a woman from southern Germany. It's at the National Gallery in London. This is his painting of a man called Erasmus. Erasmus was a renowned humanist and scholar in Rotterdam. So he was a Dutch philosopher and a theologian, and he's considered one of the greatest scholars of the Northern Renaissance. What they call a humanist, you could call it a philosopher. So Hans Holbein the Younger became very, very famous after he did this painting, and he got a lot more commissions. This is his portrait of Sir Thomas More. Holbein the Younger traveled to England in 1526 in search of work, but he had a recommendation from the gentleman we just see, Erasmus, the philosopher. So he went to England and he was welcomed into the humanist circle of Thomas More. Thomas More was a Catholic lawyer, he was a judge and a philosopher, and he was executed in 1536 after he refused to acknowledge Henry VIII as the head of the Church of England. So Hans Holbein the Younger went to England. He painted a few famous British figures. Then he went to Switzerland and he went back to England in 1532. But this time he was under the patronage of Thomas Cromwell. And by 1535, he was the king's painter to Henry VIII of England. This painting is a very famous painting. It's called The Ambassadors. It shows Jean de Dinteville. He was the French ambassador to the court of Henry VIII, and George de Serve, the bishop, to the right. So it's an ambassador and a bishop. The painting is very large. It measures 82 inches by 81 inches. And one thing that is very interesting is you see that thing at the bottom? It's actually a skull, and it has a name. It's called an anamorphism. It's a distorted image. When you look at it from a certain point of view, you're going to see that it revealed to be a human skull. It's a stunning painting. This is a portrait of Henry VIII, King of England. So the King of England, Henry VIII, commissioned him to do another painting of his. This is an oil on canvas that measures 9 feet high. Somebody liked himself. Now, this is a beautiful painting. This is a painting of the merchant George Geese. Isn't that stunning? It's one of the greatest paintings I've ever seen. The background, the colors, the details, the detail are astonishing. I could zoom in endlessly on that painting. It measures 38 by 34, and it's an oil on oak panel. It's exquisite. Look at the perspective on the cloth or the carpet on the table. The details of the coins, all the objects is remarkable.
Who's the artist?
Holbein,
Oh,
younger.
the elder?
This is the younger, Holbein, the
The
younger.
younger. Yeah, magnificent.
Cliff, this is for you. My friend Cliff sent me the same painting after it has been restored, but somehow I like this one. This is Anne de Clèves. Anne de Clèves was the fourth wife of Henry VIII of England, and luckily for her, he abandoned her, but he did not kill her. And he painted this incredible painting of Oliver Cromwell. So it's incredible that we have a portrait of Thomas More. We have a portrait of Oliver Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell was a very famous English politician and soldier. He was born in 1599, and he rose to prominence during the War of the Three Kingdoms. But he is known for his brutality during his campaign of Ireland. The artist also painted this remarkable, highly contrasted painting of Charles de Solier. He was the Count of Moret. He was a French soldier born in 1480, and he was a diplomat under the French King Francois I. Quite striking, incredible contrast, very powerful painting, like most of his work. This is his painting of a lady with a starling. Starling is the bird that you see. So this is Hans Holbein the Younger. This painting lady with a starling is at the National Gallery in London. And the woman that you see is thought to be Anne Lovell. The husband of Anne Lovell was Sir Francis Lovell, and he was employed at the court of Henry VIII, who was King of England. And this is his sketch. It's a study for the family portrait of Thomas More. You can see his ability to not just to paint, but to draw is incredible. It's such a graceful drawing. And the painting that he did is lost to us, but somebody else painted a great painting of the families based on this sketch. This is an anonymous painting that I found very curious. It's a portrait of a dead gentleman called Caspar of Utenhagen in his coffin. It's an oil on canvas. So you're looking at the son of a German nobleman who died in 1603. Another curious painting is this one. This is the Danse Macabre. And you can see 9 different women from different ranks. They're dancing with death. So you have the princess, you have the queen, you have the maidservant. Everybody is equal when you face death. So I will close this lecture on a series of much happier painting. This is a very unique artist in history. This is one more painting by which is anonymous also. I forgot this one. This is Edzard the Great. He was the Count of Frisia. It's an Nolan panel. He was the Count of East Frisia. It's another German state in 1462. So I wanted to show you a fun artist. This is Christoph Ludwig Agricola. This painting is made in 1665. He was a German landscape painter born in 1665 in the city of Regensburg, and he trained, but most of his work was studying nature, and he painted a lot of birds. So his name is Christoph Ludwig Agricola, and this is a songbird in evergreen. This is greater redpoll and crested titmouse, if you guys know about birds. I don't. This is a gouache painting. It measures 11 by 8, so teeny painted. This is a kingfisher on a branch. So this is around 1680. And the last of his work is this one. It's called Tit on a Branch. T-I-T. So I guess that's a type of bird. Is it not lovely? A very unique artist, and we're now looking at an artist that was born in 1695 in the town of Bad Soden, and his name is Christian Siebold. He was born in 1695. He died in Vienna in 1768, but he's very well known for his very detailed and hyper-realistic portrait. This is a self-portrait, and curiously, it's an oil on a copper panel. This is his portrait of his daughter, painted in 1761, and again, it's an oil on copper. Imagine that. Your father painting this exquisite portrait of you. This is a series of 2 portraits by Christian Siebold. This is a portrait of an old woman. That's the title, 1761. You know, in a period where you did not have electricity, you did not have photographs to look at, you had candles. To paint a portrait that is so accurate and so detailed and realistic is incredible. And this is the last painting of his I will show you of his. Imagine painting that on canvas. Another painting of an old woman that I found beautiful is by a different artist. His name is Joachim Martin Falbe. He was born in the city of Berlin in 1709. And I'm going to show you 2 more paintings. I'm going to leave you on a very happy note. This is a German artist called Franz Xaver Pitter. It's a forest floor with daisies, primroses, and dandelions. It says 13 by 12, but it's hard to imagine it's that small. So I don't know if it's correct, but it may be. And the last painting I'm going to show you is one of the most beautiful watercolor I have ever seen. This is a woman artist. Her name is Caroline Friederike Friedrich. It's vine branches. It's a gouache on paper. Caroline Friederike Friedrich was a German flower painter. She was born in 1749 in the town of Dresden. I remember sending it to you, Cynthia. And that concludes my lecture on German art. Next week, I will show you German art and Romantic art of the 19th century.